It's time for Mornings at 8 with Jonathan Mark on AM 1480 WLEA.
Oh, yes, it is time for Mornings at 8, and here we are at 6 minutes after 8 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. Wednesday, halfway through the week. And from here you can see the weekend peeking up over the horizon. It'll be here soon enough. Well, kind of brisk and bracing out there this morning. Man, it's chilly, and there's a breeze. Wow, 34 degrees. 34 degrees. And if you were listening to Rob Carolyn there, expecting a little bit of snow in a few short days here. Yes, sirree, Bob. Okay, here comes winter. Before anything else, as you heard on Brian's News, the boil water advisory remains in effect for Residence Way, Airport Road, Seneca Road North, Industrial Park Road, and County Route 66 until further notice. So that's still in effect. Apparently, according to the DPW, there was a water main break Sunday on Airport Road. So we will keep you updated as we find out more. Now, yesterday was Election Day. And, I was thinking what a privilege it is to vote. I mean, it really is. What a wonderful thing voting is. And you can't really do that in all other countries, right? And, I think that's an absolutely wonderful thing. Well, let me see. As you heard, by the way, all the election results are posted on the WLEA.net website. So if you want to find out who won and who lost and what the vote count was, it's all there on the website. And one race, George Borrello, is claiming victory in the Senate race for the 57th district, the one that was held by Kathy Young. So he, let me see, who was his opponent? Democrat Austin Morgan. So Borrello is a Republican and Morgan's a Democrat, and Borrello won, apparently. And he issued a statement, a rather lengthy statement. I don't want to read the whole statement. But he says, as he crisscrossed the district in his campaign, he said nearly all the people he spoke with shared a deep concern for the future of Western New York and the Southern Tier, from high taxes and a hostile business climate to infringement of our rights and freedoms, which are all part of the radical New York City-based agenda now. He says that dominates in Albany. He says the people of this region believe that our state is heading down the wrong path, and fighting against these damaging policies and proposing common sense, forward-looking solutions will be my overriding focus in the Senate. So that's from George Borrello. And yesterday on the Newsmaker program, boy, what a really, really good program it was. AU history professor Gary Ostrower was the guest, and he is man knows all about history. I mean, the guy's just an encyclopedia. And he was talking about the history of presidential elections in the U.S. And man, it was a riveting Newsmaker.
Thanks, Jonathan. And the great thing about that, I can go to the History Channel's website and just scroll down and come up with questions based on what I'm reading. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask him ahead of time.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. Now, one or two things I did know, but by far the majority of the things I had no idea.
Yeah.
Man, like I think it was in the 1890s or 1880s. It wasn't a secret ballot. So people would know who you voted for?
He said you'd vote in places like restaurants and bars and businesses, and it was out in the public.
Oh, man. That's not the way to do things. But see, that's what you learn, and it's still on our website.
Yeah, and he said a lot of people were told if you don't vote for McKinley,
you're out of here.
Come into work.
Wow. So the Newsmakers, all the shows, for years and years, are archived on our website, WLEA.net. And all you do is you go to the homepage and you go on the right-hand side, scroll down to Newsmaker, and there they all are. All the Newsmakers for years and years. So if you didn't catch it yesterday, you still can. It's still up there. It'll be up there for a long time. Man, it was certainly worth a listen. Let me see what's going on here in New York. This is from the Buffalo News, but the governor has announced that he has signed legislation requiring that death certificates specify the cause of death in cases where the deceased has died of an opioid overdose. Opioids in the news yet again. And he says the new law is aimed at ensuring that there is more data available to better address the current opioid epidemic, which we all know has been in the news for months and months and months, that there is an epidemic going on. And the governor said New York has taken the most aggressive actions to combat the opioid crisis of any other state in the country. So there's that. If someone dies of an opioid overdose, it must be noted on the death certificate. And speaking of which, opioids, as I said, I've mentioned opioids a number of times on this program, and it's all over the news. It's a terrible, terrible thing. It's been going on for years and years, and it's only getting worse. This is from a website called Vox. It says the opioid epidemic cost the U.S. $696 billion in 2018 and more than $2.5 trillion. $2.5 trillion from 2015 to 2018, according to a new estimate by the White House Council of Economic Advisors. The CEA last calculated the cost of the opioid epidemic in 2015, putting the price at more than $500 billion. And using similar methodology, the agency calculated new numbers for the ensuing years. The CEA's estimates are multiple times larger than what some other studies found, in part because the death toll from the crisis has grown in recent years, and in part because the agency is using a different methodology than other studies to try to include the broader societal costs of premature death. Wow, how much? $2.5 trillion. That's what the opioid epidemic has cost the U.S. in 4 years. Now, President Donald Trump's administration and Congress have increased funding for the opioid crisis by the billions of dollars here and there, but their efforts so far fall short of the tens of billions that experts say is necessary to adequately boost addiction treatment and harm reduction efforts. More than 70,000 people died of drug overdoses in 2017, a record number, with about two-thirds of those deaths linked to opioids. So what's two-thirds of 70,000? That's a lot. Data suggests the death toll fell or remained relatively flat in 2018, but experts caution the preliminary data could be off. It could also be a temporary reprieve, as occurred in 2011 and 2012. Now, the opioid epidemic can be understood in 3 waves. In the first, starting in the late 1990s and early 2000s, doctors prescribed a lot of opioid painkillers, and that caused the drugs to proliferate to widespread misuse and addiction among not just patients, but also friends and family of patients. Teens who took the drugs from their parents' medicine cabinets, and people who bought excess pills from the black market. Now, I've had a number of stories in the past, maybe 3 months, about several doctors here and there and the other place who face serious charges for prescribing millions and millions and millions of opioid pills unnecessarily. So it's still out there, and it's only getting worse. A second wave of drug overdoses took off in the 2000s when heroin flooded the illicit market, as drug dealers and traffickers took advantage of a new population of people who used opioids but had either lost access to painkillers or simply sought a better and cheaper high. And in recent years, the U.S. has seen a third wave as illicit fentanyl offers an even more potent, cheaper, and deadlier alternative to heroin. Which reminds me, a couple of weeks ago, I don't remember where I read it, but now there's something, man, it just gets worse. There's something called fentanyl 2.0 out there. Now, fentanyl is deadly. Fentanyl 2.0 is even worse. So if fentanyl will kill you, fentanyl 2.0 is even worse, and man, it just goes on and on and on. That is so weird. I don't know. You just have to be very, very careful. It's a strange world out there. Well, I think we've all seen little kids, like 8 years old and under, on some kind of a tablet, or of course watching TV, a computer, or an iPad or iPhone or whatever. Well, this is from a website called Health Matters. It's stories of science, care, and wellness. And it says nearly half of all children, 8 and under, have their own tablet and spend an average of about 2.25 hours a day on digital screens, according to Common Sense Media. So what does all the screen time do to kids' brains? Now, we've all seen that. Little kids, I mean, little ones, just their noses are in this tablet or iPad or whatever they're called, and they're just hours and hours and hours. Early data from a landmark National Institutes of Health study that began in 2018 indicates that children who spent more than 2 hours a day on screen time activities scored lower on language and thinking tests. And some children with more than 7 hours a day of screen time experienced thinning of the brain's cortex. And that's the area of the brain related to critical thinking and reasoning. Now, who's this? Dr. Jennifer Cross. She's a attending pediatrician and a developmental and behavioral pediatrics expert at New York Presbyterian Komansky Children's Hospital. Anyway, she says, we're not sure what this data means yet, but what we can hypothesize is that screens could inhibit certain aspects of a child's development by narrowing their focus of interest and limiting their other means of exploration and learning. In other words, if your nose is on this tablet and you just write down there for hours, you're totally, that's it, you're focused on that. And everything else is totally unimportant. She says, if young children spend most of their time engaging with an iPad, smartphone, or the television, all of which are highly entertaining, it can be hard to get them engaged in non-electronic activities, such as playing with toys. Hey, that's novel, to foster imagination and creativity, exploring outdoors, and playing with other children to develop appropriate social skills. Interacting almost exclusively with screens would be like working out only your arm muscles and nothing else. You would have really strong arm muscles, but at the expense of overall the fitness. And which kind of, it reminded me. I had a friend in California who had a 8-year-old son. And this kid spent almost all his time, exclusively playing video games. Now, back in the 80s, it wasn't nearly what it is now. But this kid would spend all his time playing video games. And we were in the backyard one time. Let me see. I think a barbecue was going on or something. I don't know what it was. A cookout, So I don't know how the subject came up. But this kid was actually outdoors in the sunshine. He wasn't inside in the family room playing video games. He was actually outdoors. And somebody mentioned that you had to climb this tree in order to put up a decoration or something like that. And Steve, that was his name, Steve, said, well, how do you climb a tree? Now, this was an 8-year-old boy. And he asked me, how do you climb a tree? And I'm thinking, huh? I said, you climb the tree. But he did not know how to climb a tree because he spent all his time indoors on these stupid video games. And I said, Steve, here's how you climb a tree. And so I climbed this tree. He says, oh, but he didn't have he didn't even know how to climb a tree. And then one time he asked me how to throw a football. Now, throwing a football is pretty basic stuff, okay? But he spent so little time outdoors, and apparently Dave, his dad, really didn't care much, I don't know. But he didn't know how to throw a football. He didn't know how to climb a tree. All he knew were video. And I wonder where he is now. That was a long time ago, and I wonder how Steve's doing now. Who knows? Anyway, so, it's kind of weird. You cannot spend all your time with these things. Anyway, let me see this. What was her name again? Dr. Cross. She goes on. For young children, especially those under the age of 3, development is happening rapidly. Young children learn by exploring their environment and watching the adults in their lives and then imitating them. Excessive screen time may inhibit a child's ability to observe and experience the typical everyday activities they need to engage with in order to learn about the world, leading to a kind of tunnel vision, which can be detrimental to overall development. Yeah, I guess so. She says, when I see children walking with a parent or being pushed in a stroller, they are often playing on a smartphone or a tablet and not paying attention to anything else around them. They will not learn about the world around them if all they're doing is looking at a smartphone. This will not just affect their ability to learn new things, but also how they interact with others and how language develops. So it isn't just kids. She's talking about children 8 and under. I mean, how many adults do you know? Right. How many adults spend all their time on these? I don't know. It seems, I think I'd rather live in a real world than a virtual world. Anyway, whether you live in a real world or a virtual world, you probably need insurance. Everybody needs insurance, right? It's basic. And you could do no better than contact the Ryan agencies with offices in Hornell, Jasper, and Wellsville. They are insurance experts. That's what they do all day long. That's their job. They deal with insurance. They know how the thing works. And if you don't know how insurance works, you could easily wind up in trouble, in a dead end. So you go to the Ryan agencies and you say, look, I need this, and maybe I need that too. I don't know. What do you think? And because they're insurance experts, that's all they do all day long, they can help you. They have access to all these insurance companies, and they'll find the best one for you based on your needs. They are the Ryan agencies.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
In college football, the first playoff rankings were released, and if the season ended today, the top 4 teams into the playoff would be Ohio State, number 1, LSU 2, Alabama 3, and Penn State 4. Of course, Alabama and LSU will play each other this Saturday in Tuscaloosa. First team on the outside looking in as it stands now is defending national champ Clemson. Georgia checks in at number 6. College basketball tipped off with the top 4 teams in the nation going head-to-head in New York City. We had number 2 Kentucky beating number 1 Michigan State 69-62, and number 4 Duke was a winner over third-ranked Kansas 68-66. 15 other top 25 teams were in action, and they all won, most of them easily. In NBA games of note, the Lakers are now a league-best 6-1 on the season after a 118-112 win in Chicago over the Bulls. LeBron James led LA with a triple-double, 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists. Celtics down the Cavaliers 119-113 behind Gordon Hayward's 39 points. Boston's 5-1 on the year.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks falling as investors sifted through a slew of earnings reports today, with the Dow falling 19 points, the Nasdaq down 49, S&P 500 down 3. And shares of plant-based meat company Beyond Meat were far from sizzling today on Wall Street, falling over 22%, marking the end of Beyond Meat's lockup period. For the first time since its IPO, early investors can sell the stock. Now, despite the sell-off, Beyond Meat reported a much bigger profit than expected for its third quarter. Shares of Mattel spiking after hours, around 18%, after the toy maker posted better than expected earnings for the third quarter as newer models boosted demand for its flagship Barbie brand, and the launch of dolls based on Korean pop sensation BTS lifted international sales. Mattel also announcing it will be hiring a new chief financial officer in the wake of a whistleblower investigation relating to its accounting practices. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. And right now, get your first online visit totally free when you go to forhims.com/joy. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. forhims.com/joy.
Today at Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads and Hornell, New York, you'll find brand new 2019 Nissan Sentra SV models equipped with 16-inch alloy wheels, rear monitor, push-button ignition, and cruise control for just $15,999. Shop Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads or Hornell. Simmons-Rockwell.com.
Okay, and we are back. Well, ever have an overdue library book? Okay, you check out a book at the library. Maybe it's 2 weeks or something. or whatever. I don't know. There's a lady in Michigan, a 27-year-old, and she was seeking a promotion at work, and she thought it was a joke when her boss told her there was a warrant out for her arrest after failing to return 2 library books. So it turns out that Mindy Jones, that's the lady in question there, who is a mother of 5, has been charged with misdemeanor failure to return rental property. And she now faces a penalty of up to 93 days in jail or a $500 fine. Not 93 days. Why not 90? Or why not 100? Or why anything? I don't know anyway. So she faces a penalty, 93 days in jail or $500 fine. And also her job as a security guard is on the line. She's been suspended. So she says, this time off work has caused me to fall behind on all my bills. We can't even celebrate our youngest son's birthday on Friday because of this. It's devastated us. It's going to be hard to crawl out of this hole. The misdemeanor warrant was issued 2 years ago. But Jones hadn't become aware of it until her boss ran a background check Tuesday. Since discovering the outstanding warrant, Jones has been suspended without pay and is not allowed to return to work until she's cleared of the charges. Now, she says that she's fuming over her criminal record, but claims that she isn't the only one who has been penalized to such a degree over late library books. I guess some libraries can get really aggressive. Anyway, I never thought something like this would happen. I'm still completely floored, and I just want to keep my job. So she has started the GoFundMe page. So she says that she returned the book 6 months ago after learning she couldn't use a library printer because they were overdue. But a spokesman for the local library there says that she's only telling part of the story. The spokesman says people are notified about overdue books before fines are turned over to authorities. So, it's you should be more responsible. Okay, you should return the books. But 93 days in jail or a $500 fine? Wow, okay, fine. And what else have we here? Hey, if you'd like to get in touch with me, okay, I really ought to do this more often. I really don't. If you'd like to get in touch, maybe you like the show, maybe you don't like the show, maybe you think I'm dumb, maybe you think I'm smart, who knows? I really don't mind. You can contact me. My email address is, I don't have a Facebook page, there's no social media, but I do have an email address. And that is studio1227 at twc.com. Studio1227 at twc.com. And that seems to be it for this morning's show, and I will see you tomorrow at 8:05. Bye.